Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UN's Defiance, watching the massive alien ship approach through the main viewing screen. The vessel was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It stretched for miles across space, its dark metal surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. Jake had been exploring space for 12 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The communication system crackled to life. A deep, rumbling voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect English. "Human vessel, you will prepare to receive our delegation. We are representatives of the Galactic Council. You will comply immediately." Jake looked around at his crew. His second in command, Commander Lisa Harper, sat at her station with her hands steady on the controls. She had been Earth's best diplomat before joining the space program. Behind them, Dr. Helen Grant monitored the alien readings on her scientific equipment. The ship's engineer, Sam Torres, kept watch over the engine systems in case they needed to run. "This is Captain Morrison of the United Nations ship Defiance." Jake replied into the communication device. "You're welcome to send a small delegation aboard our ship. We'll meet in our main conference room." Within minutes, a smaller ship detached from the massive alien vessel and moved toward the Defiance. The docking procedure was surprisingly smooth, as if the aliens understood human technology perfectly. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. If they knew this much about human ships, what else did they know? The airlock opened with a soft hiss. 3 beings walked through, and Jake had to work hard not to step backward. The leader was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body in slow waves. Behind it came 2 other aliens. One looked like a giant insect with 6 arms and compound eyes. The other appeared to be made of flowing liquid metal that somehow held a solid shape. "I am Zexthara, first speaker of the Galactic Council," the crystal being said. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We have come to offer your species a great honor." Jake gestured toward the conference room. "Please, let's sit and talk." He noticed that only the crystal being actually sat down. The insect creature remained standing, and the liquid metal alien simply flowed into a chair-like shape. Lisa activated the recording system and took her place beside Jake. Dr. Grant sat across from them, her scanner discreetly taking readings of their visitors. She tried to look calm, but Jake could see the excitement in her eyes. This was the greatest scientific discovery in human history. "Your species has achieved basic space travel," Zexthara began. "This brings you to our attention. For over 3,000 years, the Galactic Council has guided younger species toward civilization. We are here to extend this guidance to humanity." Jake nodded politely. "That sounds interesting. What exactly does this guidance involve?" The crystal beings' light patterns shifted to what might have been satisfaction. "You will surrender all military vessels to Council forces. Your colonies will be relocated to designated areas under our supervision. Your population growth will be controlled according to our calculations. Your technology development will be monitored and limited to prevent dangerous advancement." The conference room fell silent. Jake felt his stomach tighten. He glanced at Lisa, who had gone very pale. Dr. Grant had stopped pretending to look calm and was staring at the aliens with obvious shock. "And if we refuse?" Jake asked quietly. The insect creature made a sound like breaking glass. The liquid metal alien's form rippled with what looked like amusement. Zexthara's lights pulsed brighter. "Refuse?" The crystal being repeated. "No species has ever refused Council guidance. Why would you wish to remain primitive and dangerous to yourselves? And others?" Jake stood up slowly. "Because we believe in making our own choices. We appreciate your offer, but humanity will remain independent." The aliens fell completely silent. The insect creature's compound eyes reflected the light in the room like tiny Mirrors. The liquid metal being stopped its constant flowing motion. Zexthara's light patterns went dim and then blazed brighter than before. You do not understand, Zexthara said finally. This is not a request. This is the natural order. All species submit to council authority. It is how the galaxy maintains peace. Lisa leaned forward. What you call peace, we might call oppression. Humanity has fought too hard for freedom to give it up now. The liquid metal alien spoke for the first time. Its voice sounded like water running over rocks. You speak of concepts you do not comprehend. Freedom leads to chaos. Chaos leads to destruction. The Council prevents this. Dr. Grant had been quiet through the exchange, but now she spoke up. How many species have you guided into this peace of yours? Thousands, the insect creature clicked. All are grateful for council wisdom. And how many refused? Jake asked. Again, that strange silence fell over the aliens. They looked at each other in ways that suggested communication beyond human understanding. None, Zexthara admitted. You would be the first. Jake felt something cold settle in his chest. He thought about Earth, about the colonies humanity had worked so hard to establish, about the children growing up among the stars. Then he thought about giving all of that up to become pets in some alien zoo. Then we'll be the first to refuse, he said firmly. The aliens rose from their seats. Zexthara's light patterns turned sharp and angry. You do not comprehend the consequences of defiance. We will give you one standard galactic cycle to reconsider. That is approximately 30 of your days. If you maintain this foolish position, the Council will be forced to implement guidance through other means. Other means? Lisa asked. Conquest, the liquid metal alien said simply, though we prefer not to use such primitive terms. Jake stood straighter. 30 days, then. But our answer won't change. The aliens left without another word. Their ship departed just as silently as it had arrived. Jake watched it disappear into the darkness of space, carrying news of humanity's defiance back to their council. Lisa was already working at her communication station. I'm sending an emergency message to Earth. Admiral Bradley needs to know about this immediately. Dr. Grant was reviewing her scanner data. Jake, these beings are incredibly advanced. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours, maybe more. Jake nodded grimly. I know, but some things are worth fighting for, even if the odds are impossible. As the Defiance continued its patrol of the outer system, Jake stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien council was learning that humanity would not kneel. He wondered if they truly understood what that meant. In 30 days, the galaxy would find out what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable object. Jake just hoped humanity would survive the collision. Admiral Scott Bradley read the message from Captain Morrison for the third time. His hands were steady, but inside his chest, his heart was beating fast. 30 days to prepare for war against an enemy that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. He looked up at the wall display showing Earth's orbital defenses. They looked so small compared to what was coming. Get me Dr. Amanda Stone, he said to his aide. Emergency priority. 5 minutes later, Dr. Stone entered his office. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but Scott knew she was the smartest person on Earth. For 15 years, she had been working on projects that officially did not exist. You saw Morrison's report? Scott asked. Amanda nodded. I've been waiting for this day since we found the first alien wreck near Pluto 20 years ago. She sat down and pulled out a small device. We're not as helpless as these council aliens. Think. She activated the device, and a holographic display appeared between them. It showed a sleek ship design unlike anything in the official Earth fleet. The Shadow-class destroyer, Amanda explained. We've built 47 of them in secret. Facilities throughout the asteroid belt. They use quantum displacement drives that can move faster than anything the Council has shown us. Their weapons are based on alien technology we've been studying and improving. Scott stared at the image. How many people know about this? Less than 1,000, all sworn to secrecy. We've been preparing for first contact since I was a young scientist. We knew this day would come. Amanda changed the display to show a star map. Red dots marked locations throughout the solar system. We have hidden bases on 43 asteroids, 12 moons, and 3 planets. Each one is equipped with manufacturing, facilities, and defensive weapons. The Council thinks we're a primitive species with a few basic ships. They have no idea what we've really been building. Scott felt the first spark of hope since reading Morrison's message. What about personnel? We can't fight a galactic war with 1,000 people. General Peter Kane has been recruiting quietly for years, Amanda replied. Every person who joins the deep space mining operations gets military training. Every colony ship carries hidden weapons. Every exploration mission includes combat specialists. We have over 2 million people ready to fight, and most of them don't even know it yet. The door chimed, and General Kane himself walked in. He was a big man with scars on his hands from years of military service. Sorry I'm late, Admiral. I was overseeing the activation of Defense Protocol 7. Which is? Scott asked. Peter smiled grimly. Every civilian ship in the fleet just became a warship. Every mining laser just became a weapon. Every orbital factory just started producing military equipment. As of 1 hour ago, Earth is officially on a war footing. Amanda brought up another display. Peter, show him the Mars facility. The image changed to show the inside of a massive underground complex. Hundreds of robotic workers moved along assembly lines, building ships and weapons with incredible speed. This is beneath the Olympus Mons colony, Peter explained. We've been digging for 12 years. The official reports say it's a research station. Actually, it's the largest military production facility in human history. We can build a warship every 6 hours. Scott was beginning to understand the scope of what his people had been doing in secret. How long can we sustain production? Indefinitely, Amanda said. The asteroid mining operations provide unlimited raw materials. The fusion reactors can power the factories for centuries. And engineer Sam Torres has designed automated systems that can build more factories faster than any enemy can destroy them. Peter activated his own communication device. Sam, patch into the Admiral's office. He needs to see the big picture. A young man's voice came through the speakers. Admiral Bradley? This is Engineer Torres, speaking from Ceres Station. I'm sending you our current production numbers. New data appeared on the holographic display. The numbers were staggering. In the past month alone, the hidden facilities had produced over 300 small warships, 60,000 guided missiles, and enough ammunition to supply a major war for years. The beautiful thing, Sam's voice continued, is that our manufacturing systems learn and improve with every ship they build. By the time the Council arrives, we'll be producing vessels that are better than anything they've ever seen. Amanda switched the display to show a detailed analysis of the alien ships from Morrison's encounter. Dr. Grant sent us complete scanner. Readings of the Council vessels. Their technology is advanced, but it's also old. They've been using the same designs for centuries because nobody has ever challenged them. Our ships are built specifically to fight their ships. What about numbers? Scott asked. They rule the entire galaxy. Peter leaned forward. That's actually their weakness, Admiral. They're spread thin across thousands of star systems. They can't bring their full force to bear on any single target without leaving other areas undefended. And their member species have been under their boot for so long. Many of them are just waiting for someone to show them that the Council can be beaten. Amanda nodded. Our intelligence suggests that at least 6 major species are secretly unhappy with council rule. If we can prove that humans can fight and win, we might gain allies. Scott stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the construction platforms in Earth orbit. They looked busy, but he now realized he was only seeing a tiny fraction of humanity's real preparations. "Gentlemen, lady," he said, turning back to them, "it sounds like we've been preparing for this war longer than the Council has been planning to fight it. But there's one thing I need to know. Can we actually win?" The 3 of them looked at each other. Amanda spoke first. "Admiral, the Council expects us to surrender when they show up with overwhelming force. They expect us to fight like every other species they've conquered, using their own tactics and technologies. What they don't expect is for us to fight like humans." Peter grinned. "We don't follow their rules, Scott. We never have. While they've been ruling through fear and tradition, we've been innovating and adapting. That's what humans do best." Sam's voice came through the communicator again. "Admiral, I just want you to know that every person working on these projects volunteered. When we told them we were preparing to defend human freedom, they didn't hesitate. They've been working double shifts for months, and morale has never been higher." Scott felt something he hadn't experienced since reading Morrison's message: confidence. These people had spent decades turning humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that would rather fight impossible odds than give up their freedom. "All right," he said finally. "We have 26 days left. What do we need to do?" Amanda smiled. "We need to finish what we started. And we need to send a message to Captain Morrison. Tell him to keep playing diplomat for a few more weeks. The longer the Council thinks we're helpless, the bigger the surprise will be when they find out the truth." Scott nodded. "And what is the truth?" Peter stood up. "The truth is that humanity just became the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Council is about to learn why you should never corner a human." The 30 days had passed. Admiral Scott Bradley stood in the command center beneath Colorado's Rocky Mountains, watching dozens of screens that showed space around Earth. For the first time in human history, they were about to fight a war against aliens who controlled the galaxy. "Contact," announced Lieutenant Commander Ryan Mitchell from his position at the sensor station. Multiple large signatures dropping out of hyperspace near Jupiter. "Count shows 47 vessels, Admiral. They're big." Scott looked at the main display. The Council fleet was impressive, each ship larger than anything humanity had ever built publicly. But Scott knew something the Council did not. Hidden among the asteroids and moons were hundreds of human ships waiting for his signal. "Open a channel to all hidden units," Scott ordered. "This is Admiral Bradley. Execute Ghost Protocol. All units maintain stealth mode until further orders." Throughout the solar system, human ships powered down their engines and activated cloaking systems that made them invisible to Council sensors. The aliens would see only what humanity wanted them to see. On the bridge of the UNS Defiance, Captain Jake Morrison received a message from the lead Council ship. Zextharos crystal form appeared on the communication screen, its lights pulsing with what looked like anger. "Human Morrison," the alien said, "your time has expired. We detect no preparation for surrender. This forces us to implement guidance through conquest. Prepare to witness the power of the Galactic Council." Jake looked at his crew. Commander Lisa Harper sat ready at her station. Dr. Helen Grant monitored alien communications from her science post. They all knew the plan. "Zexthara," Jake replied calmly. "Humanity's answer remains the same. We will not surrender our freedom." The crystal being's lights flared brighter. "And you will be destroyed as an example to any other species that might consider such foolishness. Council fleet, begin the attack." The alien ships moved toward Earth with confident slowness. They had done this thousands of times before. No primitive species had ever offered serious resistance to Council technology. "Admiral," Ryan Mitchell called from his hidden command ship drifting near Europa, "Council fleet is moving past Jupiter. They're ignoring the outer system completely. They think we're all hiding on Earth." Scott smiled grimly. "Let them get comfortable. Wait until they reach Mars orbit and spring the trap." Captain Julie Adams commanded one of the asteroid bases disguised as a mining station. Her team had been waiting in silence for weeks, watching Council scout ships pass by without detecting the massive weapons hidden inside the rock. "All units, this is Adams Base 7, she whispered into her communicator. "I count 12 Council ships moving past our position. They have no idea we're here." The Council fleet moved deeper into the solar system. Their commander, a being called War Master Kethver, studied the primitive human defenses with disappointment. A few orbital platforms around Earth, some basic missiles, and a handful of small ships. This would be easier than expected. "Deploy subjugation formation," Kethver ordered. "Disable their orbital defenses, but leave their cities intact. We need the population alive for relocation and re-education." The Council ships spread out as they approached Mars, their weapons charged with energy that could destroy mountains. Their shields activated to protect against the weak human missiles they expected to face. That was when everything went wrong. Now, Admiral Bradley said quietly. Space around the Council fleet suddenly filled with human ships that had appeared from nowhere. Ryan Mitchell's stealth squadron materialized behind the alien formation like ghosts becoming solid. Julie Adams and 46 asteroid bases opened fire simultaneously with weapons that tore through Council shields like paper. Colonel Nathan Price led the main attack group from his command ship near Mars. His ships moved faster than anything the Council had ever seen, using quantum displacement drives to appear and disappear in the blink of an eye. "Target their command ship," Nathan ordered his squadron leaders. "Hit them fast and hard before they can coordinate a response." The Council fleet tried to turn and fight, but human tactics confused them completely. The aliens were used to formal battles where fleets lined up and traded shots until one side surrendered. Humans fought like nothing they had ever encountered. Ryan Mitchell's ships struck from behind and vanished before the Council could return fire. Julie Adams' bases fired missiles that split into dozens of smaller warheads, overwhelming alien point defenses. Nathan Price's main force attacked from 3 directions at once, making it impossible for the Council to focus their response. War Master Kethver watched his fleet being torn apart with growing panic. How are they moving so fast? Where did these ships come from? This is impossible. His tactical officer, a 6-armed creature called Vexthorn, worked frantically at his controls. "War Master, we're detecting human vessels throughout the system. They were here all along, but invisible to our sensors." "That cannot be. Our technology is superior. They are primitives." Another explosion rocked their ship as human missiles found their target. The War Master realized with growing horror that his fleet was losing. On Earth, Admiral Bradley watched the battle with satisfaction. The Council ships were trying to retreat, but human forces had surrounded them completely. Every alien vessel was damaged, and 6 had already been destroyed. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from multiple Council ships. They want to negotiate." Scott shook his head. "No negotiations. They came here to conquer us. Now they learn what happens when you threaten human freedom." The battle continued for another hour. When it ended, 31 Council ships had been destroyed. The remaining 16 had surrendered after their weapons and engines were disabled by precise human fire. War Master Kethver found himself a prisoner aboard Colonel Price's command ship. The human officer who interrogated him was polite but firm. How? The alien asked. We studied your species. You had basic fusion drives, primitive weapons, simple defense platforms. How did you defeat us? Nathan smiled. You studied what we wanted you to see. While you were planning our conquest, we were preparing for war. The difference is that we've been fighting for our survival for thousands of years. You've been ruling, unopposed for so long that you forgot how to actually fight. News of the battle spread through Council space faster than anyone expected. Captain Morrison sent a simple message to every Council world. Humanity has defeated the subjugation fleet. We are not primitives. We are not weak. And we are not alone. The response was immediate and shocking. 3 Council member species declared independence within hours. 5 more sent secret messages offering to share intelligence about Council weaknesses. The rebellion that the Council had feared for centuries had finally begun. On the Council's capital world of Nexus Prime, the Eternal Voice received reports of the disaster with growing rage and fear. For 3,000 years, no species had successfully resisted Council authority. Now these humans had not only won a battle, but had inspired others to rebel. Mobilize every fleet, the Eternal Voice commanded. Gather every ship, every weapon, every warrior. These humans will be crushed completely, and their world will serve as an example for all time. But even as the orders went out, the Eternal Voice felt something it had never experienced before. Doubt. If humans could defeat one Council fleet, what else might they be capable of? In the depths of space, Admiral Bradley prepared for the next phase of the war. The Council would come with everything they had, but humanity was ready. The galaxy was about to learn that some species could not be conquered, no matter how long they had ruled the stars. The final battle for Nexus Prime began at dawn on a world that had never seen war. For 3,000 years, the Council's capital planet had been the center of galactic power. Now it faced an enemy that refused to follow any rules the Council. Understood. Admiral Scott Bradley commanded the human fleet from his flagship, the UNS Liberation. Around him spread the largest force humanity had ever assembled. 500 ships moved through space toward the heavily defended Council homeworld. But these were not the only vessels in the attack. Admiral, reported Captain Julie Adams from her position near the planet's outer moon. I'm detecting ships from 12 different species joining our formation. The Keltheron rebels brought 60 vessels. The Zephyrian freedom fighters have 40. Even some Council species are switching sides. Scott nodded with satisfaction. The rebellion had spread faster than anyone expected. After humanity's victory, at Earth, oppressed species throughout the galaxy had risen against their Council overlords. What had started as humanity's war for independence had become a galactic revolution. Commodore Jake Morrison, promoted after his brave stand during First Contact, led the main assault group toward the planet's orbital defenses. His ship, Still, the faithful Unzi Defiance, had become a symbol of resistance throughout the galaxy. All units, this is Morrison, he announced over the communication system. Remember why we're here. We're not fighting to conquer. We're fighting to free every species in this galaxy from 3,000 years of oppression. The Council's defenses were impressive. Massive orbital platforms surrounded Nexus Prime, each one capable of destroying entire fleets. Shield generators protected the planet's surface from attack. And somewhere below, in the crystal spires of the capital city, Eternal Voice waited with its remaining loyal forces. But the Council had made a critical mistake. They had built their defenses to fight the kind of formal battles they were used to. They expected enemy fleets to approach directly and attack their strongest points. Humans had a different plan. Colonel Nathan Price commanded the stealth force. That had infiltrated the system weeks earlier. His ships hung invisible in the asteroid belt beyond the planet's outer sensors, waiting for the right moment to strike. Phase 1 complete, Nathan reported quietly. "We've placed charges on 47 orbital platforms. When the main attack begins, their own defenses will turn against them." Dr. Amanda Stone watched the battle from her command center on the UNS Prometheus, humanity's newest science vessel. She had spent months studying Council technology, looking for weaknesses. Now she was ready to exploit them. "Activating the virus," she announced to her team. "Their computer systems are about to discover that connecting everything together makes you vulnerable to people who think differently." Throughout the Council Defense Network, human-designed computer viruses began spreading. Systems that had worked perfectly for centuries suddenly started making random errors. Weapons that should have fired at human ships instead targeted each other. Communication networks carried false orders and confusing messages. The Eternal Voice felt the first tremors of fear as reports flooded in from its defense commanders. Nothing was working as it should. The primitives were fighting in ways that made no sense. How are they disrupting our systems? The ancient being demanded of its tactical advisor, a creature called Prime Calculator Zethmer. "Unknown, Eternal Voice," the advisor replied with growing panic. "They appear to be using our own networks against us. Our computers are treating their signals as legitimate commands. Impossible. Our encryption is unbreakable." "Perhaps," Zethmer said quietly, "unbreakable by minds that think like ours. But these humans think differently." A battle intensified as human forces closed on the planet. Commander Lisa Harper, now serving as Admiral Bradley's diplomatic advisor, opened communication channels to broadcast a message throughout Council space. "People of the galaxy," her voice carried to every world in the Council Empire, "today marks the end of tyranny and the beginning of freedom." The Council's power was built on fear and the belief that resistance was impossible. Humanity has proven that belief wrong. "Join us, and together we will build a galaxy where every species can choose its own destiny." The response was immediate. On dozens of Council worlds, rebellions erupted as local populations rose against their occupiers. Species that had been enslaved for millennia suddenly remembered what freedom meant. Engineer Sam Torres coordinated the technical aspects of the assault from his command ship near the planet's North Pole. His job was to disable the shield generators that protected the Council's capital city. "Generators are powered by a central core," he reported to Admiral Bradley. "If we can overload it, the entire defensive grid will collapse. But we need to get close enough to plant the charges." "Leave that to us," came a new voice over the communication system. It belonged to Captain Rexther of the Keltheran Liberation Fleet. "My people have been planning this attack for 50 years. We know every weakness in their defenses." The Keltheran ships, built for speed and stealth, raced toward the shield generators while human forces provided covering fire. They had suffered under Council rule longer than most species, and their desire for revenge gave them courage that surprised even their human allies. As the shield generators began to fail, human assault teams prepared for the final phase of the battle. Commodore Morrison would lead them to the surface to capture the Eternal Voice and end Council rule forever. But the ancient being had one last surprise waiting. "Activate the Doomsday Protocol," the Eternal Voice commanded its remaining loyal forces. "If we cannot rule the galaxy, then no one will." Deep beneath Nexus Prime's surface, weapons that had been hidden for thousands of years began to charge. They were planet killers, designed to destroy entire star systems. The Council's final act would be to take as many rebels with them as possible. Dr. Helen Grant detected the energy buildup from her sensor station aboard the UNS Defiance. "Jake, I'm reading massive power spikes from the planet's core." "Whatever. They're charging down there. It's big enough to destroy everything in this system." Morrison made a decision that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Instead of retreating to safety, he led his assault team directly toward the source of the power readings. All units, continue the attack, he ordered. We didn't come this far to let them destroy innocent worlds. We end this now. The final assault on the Council's stronghold was brief but fierce. Human soldiers, fighting alongside rebels from dozens of species, stormed through the crystal spires of the capital city. They faced desperate Council forces who knew their empire was ending. In the deepest chamber of the central spire, Morrison confronted the eternal voice itself. The ancient being sat on a throne of living crystal, its form barely visible in the strange light that filled the room. You have doomed the galaxy, the eternal voice said with a voice like breaking stone. Without the Council's guidance, chaos will consume everything. Morrison looked at the alien ruler with calm determination. Maybe there will be chaos. Maybe some species will make mistakes, but they'll be their own mistakes, made by free choice. That's better than 3,000 years of peace built on slavery. He disabled the doomsday weapon with seconds to spare. The eternal voice was taken prisoner, and Council rule ended forever. 1 year later, President Alex Carter signed the Galactic Federation Charter in a ceremony attended by representatives from over 300 species. The new government was based on principles humanity had fought to defend: freedom, equality, and the right of every species to choose its own path. Standing on the observation deck of the space station where the ceremony took place, Admiral Bradley watched ships from across the galaxy arriving for the celebration. Each vessel represented a species that was now free to explore, to grow, and to dream. "Think it will work?" asked Commodore Morrison, joining him at the window. Bradley smiled. "It won't be perfect. Free people make mistakes. But it will be better than what came before. And if anyone tries to build another empire like the Council's, they'll discover that the galaxy now knows how to fight back." The stars stretched endlessly beyond the station's walls, full of possibilities that had been forbidden for millennia. Humanity had refused to kneel, and in doing so, had taught the galaxy to stand.